Hello and welcome to GameGuru MAX live broadcast, late 30s. I may even return to saying exactly which number it is, but for now let's just say we've done well over 35 broadcasts and we will continue to do them and release them every Wednesday. Now you'll notice the slight change in format this week. We have added a, let's say a streaming soon screen, an SSS to the start of the broadcast. That is so we've got some good time to make sure that it's on YouTube and they can actually see on our YouTube channel that it actually goes live, and you can click it and sort of wait for it to start. So we thought we'd put in a 5-minute streaming soon section at the start. Hopefully that was useful. But you will have noticed that the music isn't 5 minutes long, it's 2.5 minutes long. So you get basically 3 minutes of silence. So I'm going to have to go back to my most favourite music emporium and try and find another track that we can license for broadcast purposes that is in excess of 5 minutes. So we can do a nice fade out into my dulcet tones. So, as is the form, you get to ask your questions if you're attending live in the live chat, and I would be delighted to answer some of them towards the end of this broadcast, and the ones I don't get to, I will actually answer in the forums along with the recording of this broadcast in the GameGuru forums later on. And I also want to show you some software. So in addition to be able to get some answers to your questions, I can show you what I've been up to. And on this occasion, I have been right up into the 11th hour. I was literally coding 10 minutes ago. And so it's sort of scripted. I've got a couple of ideas I want to show you, but if it does dive off into a tangent, that's because I was coding right up to 10 minutes ago. And that's development, and that's what you're getting it live and in colour. So this is what you're going to see on Friday. So if you are a pre-order user, you're going to get builds every Friday, and this Friday you're going to see this version. And you'll notice some visual changes already. So let me just run through the changelog. This isn't the exhaustive list, this is just the ones I've picked out which I think represent this week's build. So the animation tool is now appearing in the character creator, which I want to show you briefly. You'll notice there's a new blue style. See this this style we've got going on? That was in the background. We already had the design, but we want to sort of mock up some different colour styles. And this blue one, this is the one that we feel we want to go with in terms of the default. Is the one you get when you install the software the first time. What's the default? Well, it's this sort of blue theme. So that's what we're going with. Please let us know what you think of it as the default. Of course, you can still choose any of your own colour formats. This is just the one we want to go with out of the box. We have reduced the size that the skies take up. They were largely uncompressed, and there were some redundant files. So in this build, we compressed the cube map for the sky and removed all the redundant files. It won't take up an additional 5 gigabytes of your build anymore, so hopefully you'll be pleased about that. We've added some extra bits and pieces such as locking of groups. We can do that, and the highlight has been improved in a couple of areas, and some other touch-ups and some spell corrections and some text and some title here, there and everywhere. Some complete, some in progress. But you'll get a proper changelog by Friday. And if you've got any questions, certainly do post in the forums, and I can fill in all the gaps about, you know, the specifics of what do you mean by small changes and tweaks, things like that. So I want to dive straight into the thing I've been working on, which is the character creator. Last week you saw the importer and the animation tool. Well, now I've actually brought the importer, the animation tool into the character creator. So as before, you had the ability to have change the type of character, customize the different parts of your character, so you can do t-shirts, you can get him so he's a little bit more formal. You've got this, which is the new one. I wasn't able to show you last week and I wanted to. So what you're looking at here is the flak jacket for our character. So one of the things I wanted to start with is a proper military character, and then use that for the AI that I'll be working on in a couple of weeks' time. So I'm going to get rid of his hair, because he's shaven, give him a Mediterranean face, going to give him the half camo cap, I'm going to give him some camo jeans. Give him something to wear. Military trainers. And to finish him off, let's give him some cool glasses. There you go. There's different variations, as you've seen, different retextures of this basic model. Obviously, see, he's not got a gun in the holster yet. He will have a gun at some point in the near future. But the idea is he's going to be running around challenging your wits in gameplay situations. But the bit I wanted to show you was the animation tool. You can actually see the bones that the character is using. So not too many, just some bones for the mouth, the head area. Of course, some bones for the hands so they can hold weapons. You can obviously switch animation on and off and change the speed of those animations. Now this is all the animations, but you'll notice below we've already started, me, has already started splitting out all the animations into the appropriate sets. So when you're in the logic and you're defining the logic for your characters, you just have to refer to them by name instead of by start frame and end frame. So you've got a walk loop, this is a conversation loop, we have another conversation which you can interject with, and another one. And you know, this isn't the exhaustive list. If I go to, I think I still have it, it's here. This is the non-combat animation sets. So all of these, idle, turning, pointing, the full walk. You see, you can actually start into a walk, then do a loop, and then you can slowly take the walk to a stop. Anyone who's interested, these are the phonemes for the mouth synthesis, but you don't really need to worry about that. All you need to do is provide a WAV file or type some text, and the character will just start talking with the mouth animating as it should. We took care of all that in the background. And so you see, we've been consistent. We're going to have the animation tool not only in the character creator but the importer. That means you have that level of full animation control, being able to stack animations, defining them within the model that may already have animations, but then be able to append additional animations as you see fit if they are provided as separate animation files. Obviously, it doesn't need to animate that fast. And obviously, let's put him on idle. And that's our typical, let's see if we can change that. We've got a black one, I think we've got a light one. So you see we've got a nice light colour, and then for the third choice, you've got sort of the camo, so the camouflage pants and the shirt go well together there. And yeah, and we've been working on another character. We'll continue to be working on characters, but this is the one I wanted to reveal this week, which is what we're calling a male contractor, military contractor, and then we're going to show you the female military contractor next week. So that's what I wanted to show you. The fact the animation tool is now part of the character creator, and you can specify the animations and delete any animations you don't want. When you're happy with your set of animations, then you can save the character out, and then you'll go on to the next stage, which you're going to see in a couple of weeks' time, maybe a month or two's time, where you start seeing all the gameplay. So there's other things that have happened. As I said, they've got the blue screen and the character creation and other bits and bobs. But I've still got a day. I've got all the rest of Wednesday, I've got all of Thursday and most of Friday before you actually get this bill. So if there are a few things that aren't quite right, and so I am tempted to go off script here, then bear with me on that. But there are a couple of things I would like to show, such as, let's just drop this one in. You've selected an object like you would. You can now select lock. You'll notice it now goes red to see that it's locked, and as you can see, you can no longer accidentally move it. So if you've got sort of an object you want to manipulate in front of it, something small like this paint can, you see that paint can is dynamic, but if I click it here, you see I can still click the paint can. It doesn't accidentally select that static object in the background, it just lets me select the object that I am interested in. And of course, you know, you can still select it, you just can't accidentally move it. You need to select it so you can then remove the lock on the object, and now the object can be moved like any other object. And we've also done the same for groups. So if I drag in two more of this, hold down shift to range select 3 and create a group. You'll also notice the group icons are larger, so now they're consistent with all the size of the other buttons on the interface. They were a little bit small and a bit less, you couldn't really discern them on equal measure with these, so now you can select that creates a group, and you'll notice in the bottom right corner you can lock the whole group. So now you can lock entire groups as well as locking individual objects. And you'll find other little pearls in this week's build as well relating to that. And you'll notice as well, even though they don't deserve like a full bullet point on the changelog, we are continually reviewing the UI. The UI is the gateway into being able to create games. We want to make that as easy and as intuitive as possible. So one of the things that we noticed is, you know, you might not know that there's additional settings available in here, or in, for example, the environmental effects. You know, did you know that you can actually manually move the sun? Well, you may not necessarily know that, and you'll never know that if they're all buried inside the settings area, unless you were lucky enough to watch a video or something. So what we've added this advanced settings. So now when you select that, it actually brings up the settings on the section that is related to that area. And now, if you wanted to, you can select the additional effects for sky, and now you can change the sun position or not. So we've added this advanced settings in order to give you those kinds of hints as to how you can get access to those advanced functionalities, but without cluttering up the UI on day one. Out of the box, we want it to be super easy, but we do not want to hide those advanced functions that you'll need down the road. So that's advanced settings. I'll show you one more little thing, and then I will get to your questions. I'm sure you've asked many questions. Just make sure you put a question mark at the end of it, please. So if I select this object and go to materials and enable custom materials, don't worry too much about this. This has been changed slightly to accommodate more control over exactly how you specify the different texture layers. More on that in the future. But you notice these little eyes that you can see here. One of the things, if you are going to plunge from standard user to advanced, you may not know what albedo is, or maleness, or all the different versions. So now we're going to add something. So when you click on this little eye icon, you're going to get a panel, an information panel, which then goes into lots more detail on what albedo actually is and how it contributes to the final rendering of your object. As you can see, and this is our custom, anything that we have not completed, we're going to make it front and center very clear. This feature is not yet complete. But in this space is going to be a nice image illustrating what this is about, in such a way that you only need to look at the picture and get an idea of what it's about, but then we give you a nice big description to go into full details on what that section is about. Now we're going to do that mainly for the materials, because there's a lot of stuff in here and some of it's pretty advanced, but you kind of want to know what it is when you start making those controls. But if you do like these ideas of this eye icon, which certainly gives you a tooltip for more help, but when you click on it you get even more help. You know, let us know which areas are you going to need that extra help on, because that's gadget is a standard gadget type now, and we can use that anywhere in the software you feel you need this additional secondary help. Not just a tooltip, but a full-on illustration and a massive description on it. So that's a little reveal about what's going on in the inner circle of development. You'll get pretty much this version on Friday, and if you wanted if you like the blue theme but you didn't see it, you can get it from here. Interface style, drop down this list till you get to the bottom which says blue, and that's this version that you see here. So hopefully you'll get to like what we've done. We've made a few little UI changes along the way to accommodate this new style. Obviously, if you've got any ideas over and above what we think is good for an out-of-the-box UI style, please let us know. So now I'm going to dig out the live chat. I should be able to get at it from my second screen, pop-out chat, draggy, expandy, and then we should be able to see all your lovely questions. Now, I didn't ask whether you could hear me or not. Can hear the sound now. So hopefully you can hear me speak. Otherwise, yeah, there we go. Thank you, Retro Game Vlog. You can all hear me, which is awesome. So now I'm going to look for some questions. If there are any questions, just checking the clock. It's 17 minutes past. That's 2 minutes past the 15-minute mark. So I've got a couple of minutes for questions. Billy Does 3D, there's audio's fine. I can hear Lee grunting and clicking. Yeah, that was me getting used to this new streaming starts soon. I do not have a physical mute button on my microphone. So, as it's a great microphone, it picks up literally everything, including me trying to close the door as quietly as possible. So let's see if we can find some sort of mute system for the next broadcast. So looking for a question. Yes, I did get a cuppa, but it was a cup of milk because it's quicker than making a cup of tea, and I wanted to be here instead of in the kitchen. Here's a question from Emma Tactical. It's GameGuru MAX is sale. I presume that means, is GameGuru MAX available for sale right now? It isn't. It's available for pre-order, so you can get it at pre-order at 25% off, but it's not for sale as yet. Keep an eye out in these broadcasts and in the forums for the actual release date, because currently it's an open release date. Even we don't know. So another question, please. Looking down for a question mark. Here's what we got. Oh, here's one from Lustenian Mapping. Big Lee question. What about Vulcan and Directx 12 support? Wicked supports Vulcan and DirectX 12 support, and we are using the Wicked engine, but for the release we're only focusing on DirectX 11. We're going to keep consistency with a single API that we know what it's doing. I'm sure there are things still to iron out in the Wicked engine's implementation of Vulcan, and probably to some degree DirectX 12 as well. So we're just going with DirectX 11 for the first release of GameGuru MAX. But it's great to know that we have that option down the road for Vulcan and DirectX 12 if the benefits are there. Here's a request. I don't know if it's a question. We need working vehicle physics with some stock models. Gives people a change to make more than just a shooter. No plans to do vehicles in the first version of GameGuru MAX. We are, however, going to do an RPG and a puzzle genre in addition to the shooter gameplay. So if you're not that interested in shooter, but you are interested in RPG or puzzle style games, then you'll be able to create those two genres as well with GameGuru MAX. So looking for a question mark. Lustenian Mapping also asks, sorry, but what about medieval RPG? Can you show us something, Lee? There is nothing to show on the RPG at the moment. We're going to focus entirely on making sure that the shooter gameplay is top draw. And once we've done that, then we can augment that logic system to include RPG and puzzle, because there's quite a bit of crossover between those three genres, but we are focusing first and foremost on the shooter gameplay, as I think it presents more of a challenge really to get that AI into a sweet spot where it's not too easy and it's not too difficult, whereas RPG is more about storytelling. Here's some questions with question marks. Nomad Soul, how will the new logic system be implemented? Question mark. Blueprints or something else? Not blueprints. No, I'm not copying off anybody else. I'm going to do more research. Stage 1. I've got lots of material now to read up on AI before I really get stuck in. But I do have an idea that it isn't some sort of scripting. It's certainly not some sort of visual scripting. It's more about connecting stuff together, but not necessarily in like a flat blueprint style 2D experience. There could be a bit of that. I'm certainly not ruling anything out, but I want to get as visceral as possible. I want you to be able to basically glue objects together, connect things in 3D in order to create that logic. So it's intuitive because it makes sense. You can see the relationships between objects and what they do. But there's no final design on that yet. That's basically going to be created out of necessity based on making the AI logic creation as simple as possible. So nothing to show at this time. Question from Super Confidential Man. Super Confident Man. As a GameGuru MAX owner, would you allow me to use screenshots of characters I made in the character for my commercial visual novel? Not sure about that. I'd have to ask my legal team As the product is not yet released, all of the EULAs that come into effect to protect said software is probably not in effect either. So I imagine you could. I mean, certainly do this as a question on the forums so I can respond properly and officially, and you can refer back to it just in case you have concerns over permissions. So it's best done in the forums, and I'll go and find out if it's all okay. I think it will be. Just be aware that characters will be subject to change until we release the finished software. But if you're happy with how the characters are looking, and you can make use of them, and you're a pre-order user, I personally don't see a big issue. But I do want to check it over with legal first. So please repeat that question on the forums. In fact, on the post that I will create after this broadcast. So I'm looking at the clock. I have now hit and exceeded the 20-minute mark. So 2 more questions, and the rest of the questions will be answered in the forums. Now, who's lucky enough to ask a question below the last one? This again is from Nomad Soul. Any news on the Mystery P? The Mystery P will remain a mystery a bit longer. The good news is we are very rapidly approaching the section where I can not only talk about what P means, but all the details about what it entails. So very close now, but I'm keeping stum. Last question, looking for a question mark. This is from Mapping. Can you show us how the player can open doors and windows, please? Can't show you that. That logic doesn't exist. I can describe it verbally though. The player would run up to a door. When the player gets near the door, they will see some text on the screen which says press a key or a button or something to open door. The user presses that key and the door animates open, and then you run through. But you can set the door to different behaviors. The door may require a key before it can be opened. The door may require a swift kick before it can be opened, because another thing I'd like to add in is a physics door. So a door is just a door. It has a spring mechanism that keeps it closed, but the player merely has to push through the door to open the door. As it swings on its joint, the player goes through into the room, and then the door quietly closes after you. So that's another behavior type. And I'll be talking more about behavior types in the future as well, because that too is related to the AI. We've got some really nice things to show you in that, but I want to keep my powder dry in that one. So I hope you enjoyed the reveal on the animation tool in the character creator, and the new blue style, and all the little bits and pieces you may have glimpsed at during this broadcast. I will be doing it again next Wednesday at 4 PM GMT. And of course, there is always the pre-order that you can get at 25% off. And if you do that, then you'll get access to everything that I talk about. Stuff that I talk about on Wednesday, you get to play in a build on Friday. So until next time, I hope you can join me. I will say goodbye. Sorry for the delayed start, but I will make sure our music is a bit longer. And so next week, you can look forward to perhaps a 5-minute music piece as you're watching the streaming getting ready to start. So until then, I shall say goodbye.